What is the most effed up thing you did that still haunts you to this day? We had a camper in this large campground at a lake when I was growing up. Tons of families with kids riding bicycles and golf carts up and down the gravel roads through the property. There was this one kid that was a few years older than me. I was 10. He was probably 12 or so, whose dad was a security guard and they lived on site, and he was the biggest punk in the park. He'd try and wrestle you in the pool, throw rocks at you as you were fishing, ride off on your bike if you left it laying around, bully and hit smaller kids, even girls. I was driving the golf cart down a pretty steep gravel hill one day when I came up on him on his bike, going the same way as me. He never turned around to acknowledge I was there, so I got up just to the side of him and turned hard right into him. We were both going probably 10 to 15 miles an hour down this hill. He took a nasty spill and rolled off the side of the road and wasn't moving. I kept on going, acting like nothing happened. We were completely isolated so no one saw me. I remember him getting taken away in an ambulance and hearing that he'd been hurt pretty bad. I immediately felt remorse for what I'd done, but never said a word to anyone. He or anyone else never had any idea I did it either. I look back now and think about how much of a financial strain I put on that family, seeing as how they were already living in a camper. That was a really evil thing I didn't. It still crosses my mind quite often. This random stranger grants you forgiveness. Just don't do it again. Pretty please. I second this. Do not turn back into a 10 years old boy and knock a 12 years old bully down a hill on his bike. I don't know about haunts, but it makes me cringe. In public school we had this thing in our school called Jumpstart for Kids where you go around, often door to door, collecting money for this charity once a year. Anyway, I was 12 and I liked a boy in high school and he convinced me to take the envelope and go door to door and collect money to give to him so he could buy a drum set. I walked around collecting from all these sweet people who told me I was so nice for collecting money for underprivileged kids. Fortunately I got caught and my parents made me donate it instead. So embarrassing. That reminds me of when I was in elementary school and we had this wrapping paper door to door catalog fundraiser. I collected an envelope full of checks, money, and order slips from around the neighborhood. So I turn in this full envelope at the front office and I'm done. Randomly a few weeks later I get called back up to the office and they tell me that they never got the envelope. They kept asking me exactly who I gave it to and when. Being weeks later I had no idea, just it was whoever was at the counter that day. Then they kept asking me to double check my bedroom just in case I really never turned it in. Honestly I think one of the office people just pocketed the cash and threw the rest away. When I was 17 my brother walked into a room where I was lying down on my back and stamped on my chest. I saw Ed and stood up and punched him square in the face. Unfortunately this was in a doorway in front of a staircase, which he fell down backwards, and when he hit the wall at the bottom, folded up in such a way I thought I'd killed him. He didn't move for what seemed like forever, and I was certain he was dead, the world just spinning out around me. He wasn't dead, obviously, but knocked out briefly, and he never laid a finger on me again. After being the kind of nasty bully who had spent much of my childhood just randomly beating on me for his own enjoyment. Those were the longest seconds of my life. Hulk sees this as an absolute win. If you put Nicolas Cage's face on Ross from Friends it just makes him look more like Ross. This is beyond science. This is dang near a 22 in the right hands. My body is a temple, but it's one of those temples in Thailand where they let monkeys crap all over the place. Wow, you made it to the end? Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like and sub if you like the content I put up. See ya in the next vid. /out.